Okay, so welcome to the registration webinar for the Faculty of Arts. I'm Justin Pike. I'm one of the program advisors in the Arts Student Center. I'd like to take the opportunity to acknowledge the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta, which includes the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprising the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nations, and the Stoney Nakoda, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. The city of Calgary is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. So this is the agenda for today. We'll go over some registration terminology, choosing courses, how to register, and then resources that you have access to if you need help. There will be time for questions. Just leave those for the end of the presentation. So the first kind of piece of important terminology is the enrollment appointment. All students will have an enrollment appointment in their student center. It's kind of on the right-hand side of the screen when you're on the home page. This is not a literal appointment that you need to book with anyone. It's just when you can begin self-enrolling in your student center. It does not require, again, an appointment with an advisor or anything like that. For most first-year students, the registration dates fall between May 5th and 7th, but you can see your exact day and time in the enrollment appointment there. So some other important terminology, course restrictions. Many courses are reserved for students who are admitted to a particular program or major. They're basically just saving seats so that those majors can get into courses they need for degree progression. They'll always be indicated in the course search with a purple star. You'll also see that they are labeled as restricted in the visual schedule builder. If you want to see specific details about course restrictions, I'd recommend you take a look at this particular section in the course search, because it will tell you the exact date and time that they come down, and it will also show you how many seats are saved and for whom. A prerequisite is just a course that you have to have completed before you can enroll in a given course. If a course is specified as a prerequisite, you have to have a passing grade, which is typically a C-, in that prerequisite before you can take the course. Prerequisites are listed in the course description, and you can also find them in the academic calendar. Anti-requisites are courses that cannot be taken for credit because they're too similar. An example of that is Stat 205 and Stat 213. You can't retain credit for either of those courses, or for both of those courses, because their credit is considered to be too similar. Co-requisites are two courses that can be taken at the same time because the content is complementary. There are a few different elements to courses. So a lecture section is the main instructional component of a course, where instructors usually are lecturing or introducing the new concepts in the course. Labs and tutorials, they're both kind of secondary instructional components of a course. They might be taught by TAs. They're usually smaller class sizes, but you need to actually sign up for both the lecture and the lab or tutorial if a course has a lab or tutorial. Multi-term courses, these are simply courses that run over both the fall and winter terms. The majority of courses are only in one of those terms. If they are multi-term, they'll be identified with an A for fall and a B for winter at the end of the course number. A synchronous course, and this is terminology that's become very important with COVID and when we had to go online. Synchronous just means that the content is being delivered at those on those days and times that are indicated in the system. Asynchronous are components that are not scheduled at a specific time. So they've like uploaded the materials or whatever, and you can look at them at when it's convenient for you. You don't need to be there at a particular time. And then blended just means that elements of the course are being offered synchronously and other elements are being offered asynchronously. And that will be detailed in the course outlines for the particular course, since they can be very specific at times. This is some very important terminology. It's related to registration actions. This is probably going to be some of the most relevant stuff for you coming up. Um, Adding a course, pretty straightforward. It's just adding a new course to your schedule. Uh, the difference between a drop and withdrawal is very important. So a drop just completely removes a course from your schedule as long as you have dropped the course before the drop deadline for a term. A withdrawal, it's the same action, but if you are taking that action after the drop deadline and before the last day of classes, in the case of a withdrawal, you won't get a refund for the course and you'll get a W on your transcript. So it's a very different action from just dropping, where if you're just before that drop deadline, you can drop and add courses without any kind of penalty. Swapping is just trading or substituting one course for another. And then editing is what you would do if you want to just change around the subcomponent of a course like a lab or tutorial, but you don't want to touch the lecture section. Related to this is waitlists. So the system has a function that will automatically hold your place in a course if you sign up for the waitlist. If a course is full and there's a seat open on the waitlist, it will just automatically hold you at position, whatever, position 3. If 3 people drop the course, you'll be registered into that course. A really important thing to note is that the waitlist is not the same thing as the shopping cart. So if you just have courses sitting in your shopping cart, like many of you might now, that is not holding your place in the course. It's just sitting in the shopping cart. You have to actually finish checking out the course with the waitlist if course is full function selected. Waitlists also don't guarantee a spot in the course. If enough students don't drop, then you won't be admitted to the course even if you were on the wait list because there was no space. So for choosing courses, since your high school entrance, by far the most important thing is the first year degree guide. The first year degree guide, it'll help you select the courses you take need in your first year. There's no tricks there. So if really one of your only questions is what do I need to take in my first year, the first year degree guide is the answer. It's a absolutely indispensable resource for incoming high school students. So faculty reserve spots, again, I mentioned reserve caps before. Just keep in mind that when you are selecting courses like options and things like that, you want to take a look at some of the reserve caps to make sure that you will be allowed to enroll even if there's space in the course. This is particularly relevant for very high demand courses. Some examples of those would be psychology or a lot of the science courses. Particularly in the case of science courses, there will be some that are totally inaccessible to you until a given date because majors that require that course have priority. Open options, you're going to see when you look at the first year degree guide, a lot of Faculty of Arts programs are very open-ended in their first year. So there's going to be a lot of slots that just say open option. You can click on that in the first year degree guide and get a lot of additional information. All they are freely chosen electives. You can take a variety of courses, again, as long as you have the prerequisites and you're not going to be fighting against a reserve cap. You can take pretty much any courses in those open options slots. Related to senior level courses, so 300 level or higher, normally high school students will not be permitted to take 300 level courses in their first year. You need to complete at least 18 units of 200 level courses, so 6 of them before you can take any 300 levels, which makes it essentially impossible for high school students to take 300 level courses in their first year. This is done intentionally because even if somehow you can technically take 300 level courses in your first year, we generally don't recommend it because university is very different from high school, and you don't necessarily want to jump directly into a 300 level course and then be completely overwhelmed by the expectations. There is another resource on top of the first year degree guide called the academic calendar. It's easily accessible on the University of Calgary website. It's a great just reference tool generally, not just for degree requirements or course listings or anything, but about all university policies almost. So there are a lot of resources available on the registrar's website that can help you learn how to register. Because again, your enrollment appointment, that's when you self-enroll. So you'll be going into the system and completing enrollment. There's videos, there's how-to guides, there's all that kind of stuff on that page. So you can start taking a look at it now to familiarize yourself with the system. It's indispensable. You can also access it through your student center and get to that registrar's how-to guides from that direction as well. So when you're in your student center, this is going to be where you do your registration and a number of other things, but we're focused on registration here today. So on the home tab, again, you can access your enrollment appointment. It's highlighted there. Again, exact date and time when you can start registering. Below that, you're going to see your shopping cart and also courses that you're actually enrolled in, which is none at this moment. Course search button and schedule builder button. So you can access it all from that screen. Before you begin registering, you have to first initialize your registration. You can see in the screenshot there, that's what your student center will look like if you haven't initialized your registration yet. And if you try to check out courses before you have initialized your registration, you'll just get an error that specifically tells you that you haven't initialized your registration. And that's just what it means. They want you to confirm your personal information and all that to make sure it's accurate before you can register. The first tool for registration is the Visual Schedule Builder, the VSB. It's kind of a web-based tool that visually lays out your timetable where you're signing up for stuff. It's very useful when you want to see like, you know, the time you have between courses and just how your week will look. Again, we encourage you to begin familiarizing yourself with the tool, just watching instructional videos and such on the registrar's website. An important thing to note is that you can register in both fall and winter terms at your enrollment appointment date. You don't need to wait. In fact, we strongly suggest you don't wait to register in winter courses, because if you try to sign up for winter courses in, say, November, chances are all the courses you want are going to be full. The other registration tool is called the Course Search. It's exactly like what it sounds. It's just a search tool. You search up the course by term, and then you can add them to a shopping cart and check them out. What we recommend is that you use the Visual Schedule Builder to initially build your schedule and register in your courses. Then after that initial registration, if you're going to start making minor changes like dropping an individual course or swapping any of that kind of stuff, that you do it through the course search. The reason why we recommend this is that we found with the Visual Schedule Builder, when students are trying to make minor adjustments to their schedule, it can be easy in the Visual Schedule Builder to do things that they did not intend to do. In the worst case scenarios, we've seen students that have accidentally dropped their entire fall-winter registration. So they're left in no courses at all. And at that point, there's nothing we can do because they've dropped all of their courses, and chances are somebody else has already taken the seats, and all we can do is suggest that they try to get back into them. With the course search, there's a lot more prompts to make sure that the system is like, are you sure this is what you want to do? So there's lots of confirmation before you make any changes. There's also a validate function, which is new this year. You can use this to kind of check your shopping cart before you can actually start registering. So you could even do it today to check for any potential enrollment errors. So things like, time conflicts or unfilled prerequisites, that kind of thing. One thing to note about it is it will not check for courses that you plan to take the prerequisite for in fall. So if you plan on taking Stat 213 in fall and Stat 217 in winter, and then you validate your cart, it will say that you're lacking the prerequisite for Stat 217 because this validate function doesn't check to see that you also intend to sign up for 213 in fall. So if you're seeing it give you an error message and that's your situation, that's why you don't need to worry about it, because when you register in 213, you'll be able to register in 217. So for getting help, the first is any registration issues. You can find a list of common registration error messages and their meaning and solution on the registrar's website. If you're unable to find the cause of an error message and you've already looked at the site, you can contact Enrollment Services advisors to do some troubleshooting for you. Other advising supports include the faculty program advisors, of which I'm one of them for the Faculty of Arts. You can speak to them about course planning, course selection, registration, program progress, and more. For those of you who are undeclared, so arts undeclared students, and you're not sure what major you want, the Student Success Center offers something called Exploratory Advising. If you just Google UCalgary Exploratory Advising, the link will come up pretty much right at the top. You can book appointments with them and their advisors who specialize in helping you pick a major. The Student Success Center also offers a huge variety of academic support beyond that, like personalized academic planning, learning support programs, lots of workshops. It's a great resource that we recommend you take a look at. There is also something called New Student Registration Assistance, NSRA. It's not available, or actually it is available starting today. So April 30th to August 27th, via email or Zoom appointments. And what they will help you with is if you're struggling with the registration system, how to navigate it, how to like build a schedule, you can email them or book an appointment with your questions about the registration system specifically, and they can help you with that as first-year students. You can book an appointment with an Arts Student Center advisor at the link there. We also do phone drop-ins, most often from 1 to 4 in the afternoon. And when first-year student registration first opens, we'll also be kind of on all-day phone drop-ins for a period as well. We have an email, artsads@ucalgary.ca. Generally, I recommend if your issue is very urgent that you call, and you might have to hold for a little bit, but you'll get through faster if your issue is urgent than emailing. There's also the virtual front desk. It's kind of just a Zoom that sits open, and you can drop in there and our receptionist can either answer basic general questions, or if you have a question and you have no idea who is supposed to answer it, you can drop in at the virtual front desk, ask your question, and they'll either be able to answer it themselves or they'll direct you to the appropriate place where it needs to be answered. That's kind of the end of the formal slides. So now we'll begin kind of a question period.
And we'll just invite everyone to put their questions into the chat box. That will just help us keep track of when the questions come in and how we can answer them. Thank you. So our first question is, so can you choose between asynchronous and synchronous, or does that depend on the class?
So that will depend on the course. It will be at the discretion of the department and instructor offering the course if they will offer it asynchronously or synchronously.
Okay, and then we have a question about what happens if I don't get into my classes?
So if you don't get into your required or your desired classes, you should pick up kind of a backup class. One thing that is really nice for the vast majority of first-year programs in the Faculty of Arts is that they're open-ended enough, and the arts programs generally have enough open options that if you have to pick up a desired course a little later on, it's unfortunate, but it doesn't necessarily doom you. You can just pick up an option in its place in the meantime.
Okay, and then is there a specific amount of courses that you recommend first-year students to take?
So that's a very subjective question. A quote unquote normal load is 5 courses in a term. It's very common for students to do 4 courses in a term, so a little bit lighter. and 3 courses in a term is the minimum to be considered full-time. What you want to do is entirely subjective. If you feel like you can handle 5, then that's totally fine. If you feel like you can only handle 4, that's fine too. One thing to keep in mind is if you take lighter course loads, chances are you'll take longer to complete your program.
Okay, and how do units work? How can I ensure that I have enough units to graduate?
So units are, I mean, basically the credit hours. Normally a course is 3 units. You need 120 units to graduate, which is a total of 40 courses. And then you have to do all the specific requirements within that. So when you see 3 units, kind of just assume it's 1 course. And that will add up, and then you'll eventually hit 120. You'll be able to track your progress through various tools, through checking in with us, that kind of thing, to make sure that you're getting what you need to. But yeah, 3 units equals 1 course, 40 courses or 120 units for a single major program.
So this is kind of a change of program question. So if I'm currently enrolled in, for example, English, can I double major that program with linguistics for the fall?
So that will be a change of program opening in. So it's a link in your student center that will open up in October, with a deadline of February 1st, and it would change for fall 2022. If you know the specific major or minor in mind, if you have open option space when you're looking at the first year degree guide, you can take a look at this case in linguistics to see what they require in their first year. And you could try to maybe start taking some of those courses as well, because they'll just count as open options in your English program. But down the road, you might already have those courses lined up for when you add linguistics, so you don't need to pick them up late.
Okay, will classes in the fall be in person? Should I only enroll in classes that are specifically online?
So no decision has been made yet as to exactly what fall will look like, which means that I think courses that are already listed as online will stay online, but courses that are currently have classrooms and are intended to be in person, if a decision is made that we're going to be online, they would change, or quite possibly change, to online.
Okay. What are the chances of getting into a waitlisted class if I'm like number 11 on a list of 20?
So that will depend on a lot of different factors. Probably the main one is the size of the course itself. So if the course you're waiting to get in is a 413, waitlist position 11 isn't too bad. If it's an enrollment total of 30, then waitlist position 11 isn't the best. So it's kind of the difference between those two. Of course, it'll also depend on just how many students end up dropping, because when you're looking at the waitlist, literally what it is that 11 students need to drop the course before you'll be admitted.
Okay. Can I register for a course with prerequisites while I fulfill them during fall block week?
So there aren't normally block week courses offered for first year students. We generally don't recommend taking block week courses. You can't take a block, because block week is technically part of the fall term. So you can't take a prerequisite course in block week and then take a course that requires it in that same term, because usually you're still doing assignments and stuff from block week later into the term. So you'd have to wait until the winter in that hypothetical scenario.
Okay. For students who are waitlisted for the first choice program, how should they be building their schedule?
So at the moment, I would recommend building your schedule for the program that you are admitted to. And then if you have some open options or something, you can try to pick up some courses for the program you're waitlisted for. Although usually if you're waitlisted for a program, that means it's very high demand. So you might not be able to get into them, but you can certainly try to get some of those courses as well.
Okay. And are all the times in the schedule updated?
Oh, but for courses and all of that?
Yes. Like if
Um,
a student was talking about a course and there might be a TBA or something on there right
okay.
now.
So if it indicates TBA in the time, it likely means that the course is asynchronous. There can occasionally be like schedule changes and stuff, but they try not to radically adjust times once the schedule has been released. Just keep an eye on different courses, or if you've already if you're registered in a course and then they for some reason have to change things, you will definitely be contacted via your email. And then again, because fall term is a little bit up in the air about exactly what the delivery will look like, it's possible some courses that are labeled as in-person might transition to online.
How do we declare our minors?
So that's also a change of program. Again, opening in October. It's just a link in your student center. And it'll be added for fall 2022. If you definitely know what minor you want, again, since you have some open option space in your first year, you could consider picking up, a couple courses that might work towards your minor. So for example, if you're 100% set on, I want to do a minor in history, you could definitely consider maybe trying to sign up for one or two 200 level history courses.
Are the recommended options listed in the first year degree guide to be done in first year, or can they be spread out over the next 4 years?
So generally in the first year degree guide, there's going to be courses that are very specific. So for SOCI, it would be SOCI 201. That course is very important. I would make every effort to take that course in your first year. Then there's the science options for a lot of them. Those I would also strongly recommend you take in your first year, although it's not specifically required. The reason why we strongly suggest that is because a lot of them have reserve caps that include first year students, which means if you leave it to your second, third, fourth year, you'll be fighting against those reserve caps to try and get seats in a way you wouldn't be now. As far as the just ones that just say open options, if you intend to do 5 and 5, you should be taking 5 courses to try and finish in 4 years, like in a very traditional format. But if you want to take it a little slower, you aren't absolutely obligated to take all of the open options.
Okay. And then for the initializing of their registration, should they be doing it now, or can they wait till their time to enroll?
I'd recommend doing it now.
Okay. Yeah, you can do that one as soon as possible. You don't have to wait for your enrollment date. So we have a student asking about like if they're applying to a combined degree program. So in this example is dance and kinesiology, but we've got a lot of you, I think, that have applied to maybe a dance or an education program. And so what happens if they've only gotten admittance into one of their combined degree choices? How do they schedule their classes?
So again, I'd register for as many of the required courses as you can. In that situation, so you'll be picking up on like a lot of the dance courses and things of that nature. I know particularly in the education side, you won't be able to take Education 201 until you're admitted. But you could also pick up, for example, the English literature course that education requires. And the kinesiology, you can take a look to see if you can take any of those courses before you're admitted. You might not be able to. But the general advice is to sign up for as much as you can. And then you can adjust your registration later if you need to.
Okay. I'm planning on taking Math 31 over the summer. Would it still be counted as 3 units towards my degree?
So Math 31 is a high school course that you wouldn't get university credit for specifically. It could just be used as a prerequisite for specific math courses at the university. You have to make sure that you have those updated transcripts that admissions can post that Math 31 credit on your file. They might not necessarily be aware of it, so you might have to get in contact with admissions once you've completed Math 31, saying that you have completed it so that they can pull a new set of high school transcripts.
Okay, yeah, and this applies to all courses that you'll be upgrading or taking over the summer term. So what happens if I get accepted into my second choice program? And I'm assuming it's because then you're waitlisted for your first choice. So what do you do?
So I'd recommend, again, signing up for those second choice courses. most Faculty of Arts programs have enough space with open options where you can try and hedge and pick up as many courses from your first choice as well.
And the student is in the Bachelor of Music program, and notice that on the first year degree guide, more than 5 classes are listed per term. Should they be removing something and just taking 5, or should they go with what's on the guide?
So yeah, music is a bit of an outlier with just because there's certain courses that don't count for any units and things like that. In that case, just follow the first year degree guide. It's going to recommend what you need.
Okay, and then another first year degree guide question. If there are 2 required courses listed and the other are open, when you take the 2 required courses, will both courses be counted as credit or too similar?
So if there are 2 required courses, then you would take both. They're not going to be anti-requisites. The only time I think it really lists out anti-requisites would be in the case of Math 249 or Math 265, in which case you take one, and the one you take is dependent on if you have Math 30-1 from high school, which is math, which means you would take Math 249. And then if you took Math 31 in high school, then you would take Math 265. But if it says something like you need Econ 201 and 203, you would take both of those because those are 2 different courses.
A student asked if they can take extra courses in the spring and summer semester, and how and when can they find out what courses will be available?
So you can take spring and summer courses. The spring and summer timetable won't be released until the new year.
Okay. We have a question from an international student who are, writing their finals without results. How do they enroll in classes?
So if you need the courses that you're waiting for results on as prerequisites, you can get in contact with the Arts Student Center and we can post dummy credit that you need.
Yeah, and also when you're admitted into a certain program, the admissions office actually provides you with a preset sort of prerequisites that we grant for you. So based on your program, we will have given you all the prerequisites that you need to get into your required classes. Okay. Where do I find the shopping cart?
So that's just on the home page of your student center. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the shopping cart there, the button on the right side for course search and for schedule builder. And then you'll also, when you start registering in courses, that's where you can kind of see them listed out as well.
Okay, and then this one is in relation to I'm just going to generalize it for language classes. So what happens if you already have some previous knowledge in a certain language? What do you do?
So there is a web page that you can go to, and depending on the language, you would select the language, and there's information for placement tests and contact info to get you placed in the appropriate course. It's handled by the School of Languages, Linguistics, Literatures, and Cultures.
Okay, how can I make sure that my concurrent degree classes and my Bachelor of Art classes don't overlap?
So are they concurrent education or?
They didn't say. I would assume so.
Okay. So in the case of education, there isn't really going to be overlap generally anyway, but this can be kind of blown up for like anyone doing any kind of double major or combined degree. Sometimes, depending on your degree combination, there can be time conflicts or anything because they can't like timetable for every single possible combination of degree programs. For the most part, what you can do is just sign up for everything you need. If for some reason something is conflicting, you might just have to pick up a course later. If they're both required courses that are conflicting in time, what I might suggest is you get in contact with the Arts Student Center so that we can identify maybe which one of those courses is more important as a prereq or something, so that you can save the less important one for a future year.
And so a student asked how they can find course outlines and syllabi, and how come some classes are already full if students hadn't started enrolling.
So I guess I'll answer the second one first. So The reason why is because continuing students, transfer students, they actually register before high school students do. There's a prioritization system for registration. Students who are later in their program get a higher priority registration because they need to, they're coming up on finishing, which means they need the best possible chance to get into the courses that they need versus somebody who's just starting and has several years to get the courses that they require. For the first question, you'll be able to find the course outlines on the D2L, Desire to Learn. Once you're in that course, you'll be automatically put in the Desire to Learn. And once the course outline is ready, this can be, they usually won't be posted until pretty close to the start of classes. You'll be able to look at it there. You can also find them on department websites.
It's Math 31 from high school, the same as Math 265.
No, it is not. It is the prerequisite for Math 265. So if you've taken Math 31 from high school, then you would need to take Math 265 instead of Math 249.
For just see, if I'm planning to major in another degree in my second year, and want to take some of the required courses in my first year, will those classes count towards my new degree?
Yes, so you can start taking some required courses, again, with all the caveats about reserve caps and things like that. So if you can actually get into the courses, once you're admitted to a different major, they'll automatically plug into that. You don't need to do anything.
Okay. In regards to sort of, I guess, AP and IP exams, what happens if you've withdrawn from an AP or IB exam?
Then you wouldn't get the credit, advanced credit, if you were going to get some for that course, presumably.
Yeah, and you might want to connect with the admissions office because they're the ones who will receive your exam results. So just let them know that you've withdrawn it, and they will remove it from your student center. Do courses work for both a major and a minor? And does it count also for an embedded certificate?
Yes, between a major and minor and major and other major combinations, there is a 50% overlap rule, which means that 50% of courses used towards one major couldn't be used toward another. Or like if you're a minor normally is 10 courses, and let's say you're majoring in history. If you take 5 history courses that are counting toward that minor, and then they're also counting toward your history major, you wouldn't be able to do more history courses that count for both. You would have to take additional courses toward your minor that aren't history to make sure you stay under the 50% overlap rule. That doesn't apply to an embedded certificate, so the courses can just double count between an embedded certificate and a major.
Is it mandatory that art students take an English class?
No, unless it's specifically required by the program that you're admitted to.
Somebody asked if we're offering another registration seminar.
This is the last one for this year anyway. I'm sure probably next year we'll be offering more. And also a recording of this will be posted on the Faculty of Arts website in the near future.
Do we know how much chance there will be of getting into a program that you're waitlisted for?
So there's not any certain way of knowing what your chances are at the moment. The reason why you're waitlisted is they're just waiting to see if the admission average drops enough to admit more students into the program.
Yeah, and there's also too is if they're waiting for your final grades, when those grades come in, it is going to be dependent on whether you meet the admission average at that time and whether there is still open space in the program that you're waitlisted for. We have seen instances where you do meet the average, but because the program was full with all the early admissions that were offered, then they were not able to offer you admission into your waitlisted program. I guess I'm just going to generalize this question. If you're in a specific major, are you guaranteed spots and courses required for your program?
You are not guaranteed spots, but there's usually reserve caps in place, particularly if they are very high demand courses that will help you get into the courses that you need. Part of the reason why we always emphasize that you register as soon as your enrollment appointment comes up, date and time, is so that you have the best possible chance of getting into everything that you need.
How long is registration open for? Am I only able to register on the time of my appointment date?
So the enrollment appointment date is only the start of when you can begin registering. It will run for fall term all the way up into mid-September, in fact. And then
Okay.
it'll be even longer for winter. So it's actually a very extended period. So all through spring, summer, and all of that, you can be dropping, adding, swapping, editing, all of that.
Can we transfer from one program to another? So for example, can I decide to pick my second choice over my first, or vice versa if I've been given an offer to one of them?
That I'm not 100% clear on, actually.
If you're offered admission to in this example, if you're offered admission to your first choice, your second choice will not be reviewed, and that will be the only sort of offer you're going to get. If you're offered your second choice program and you're waitlisted for your first choice, the admissions office will go back and review that first choice program, and pending space availability, you may be offered admission into that first choice when your final grades come in. For the classes that I'm adding, there are multiple options for them in different classrooms at the same time. Does it matter which one I pick? And is there a way to tell which one, is best?
Nope. So that if they're all, say, Econ 201s and there's a whole bunch of different lecture sections, that's just to handle demand and spread out, the number of students that need the course across multiple sections. So the content is going to be very similar because they're identical courses. As you kind of move through your university program, you'll kind of get a feel in your major for what professors you might have a preference for. And at that point, you can be like, I'd rather take lecture 3 over lecture 1 because I like that instructor more. It can also be a time thing because sometimes, a lot of the times, lectures will be offered at different times. So a lecture that works for somebody might not work for somebody else. So that's why there's multiple lecture sections.
Okay. What is the difference between registering and enrolling?
So I'm kind of using both interchangeably. It's just the act of actually getting into the course in the system. So it's different from the real distinction that's really important is that enrolling or being registered in the courses is different from just having them sitting in your shopping cart. And the reason why I'm emphasizing this, it's not even hypothetical. There's a lot of times when we find that students, they'll just leave courses sitting in their shopping cart under the assumption that they're in the courses. And then they realize, usually really, really late, that in fact, they're actually not in any courses because they never finished the act of registering and enrolling in the course.
Yeah, and I just also want to mention that I'm seeing some sort of very program specific questions in the chat box. And unfortunately, we can't answer those right now because it does entail us going into the system and looking up the answers. So if you have those sort of very specific program related questions related to your degree program, please send us an email. And then that way we can sort of write out more of a detailed response to you. Will our option classes reduce in the second year?
So the set number of options, like you'll do the same amount of options in a particular degree program just to get you up to 120 units overall. In a lot of programs, generally speaking, your options will decrease in your second year. In fact, for a lot of programs, the second year is one of the most important years for getting prerequisites and really getting your teeth into your major. So generally speaking, a lot of the time in your second year, you'll probably be taking fewer open options than your first year. Another caveat to that is that degree programs tend to open up a lot more after your first year. So there's a lot of choice. You can do so there's a lot of students that, depending on their program, will just power through all of their major options. And then the last year is almost entirely open options. And then other students like to kind of spread it out. And then depending on the program as well, some programs, it might be impossible. It forces you to spread out both open options and majors throughout the entire time you're at the university.
If I'm doing a double major, do I need 2 science courses for each major?
No, that requirement double counts.
If I'm waitlisted in a class, how long should I stay on that wait list and wait?
So the wait list will stay active into the start of the term, all the way up until really the last day to drop a course. So I would recommend just staying on the wait list. Usually the largest amount of movement, and there's going to be constant movement, people adding and dropping courses right from the enrollment appointment all the way through into the start of classes. Usually the biggest point of movement is on the first day of classes, because that's when students attend and then they realize this course isn't for them, and that's when they drop. So I'd recommend kind of staying on the wait list at least until the first day of classes, because that's when the chances are highest for you to get in.
Can I do a double major and a cooperative education program? And can you explain a little bit about the co-op program, Justin?
There is a dedicated co-op coordinator. What co-op is integrating like some kind of job work experience opportunity with your education. You'll usually do like a work term and then go back to school. It could be slightly different. You can get in contact with Arts Co-op specifically if you are curious about that. You don't usually apply until your second year, but you can get in contact with them and they can provide you details. There's also details on the UCalgary Arts Co-op website. What was the first part of the question? I can't remember.
If they can do co-op with like a double major.
You can. Usually if you start stacking things like that, one thing to be mindful of is that the more programs, the more complicated you make your program, the longer it will take you to complete. A lot of the time, it might even take you a little longer than what the absolute best case scenario would say.
Yeah, and the cooperative education normally adds a year to a year and a half to your degree. How do I go about scheduling for a winter class when I'm taking the prerequisites during the fall?
You can register in both at the same, as long as it's at the same time or you've already registered in the prerequisite in fall, then you can sign up for the course in winter.
Can we take more than 5 classes in a term?
Technically, you can. You could take a maximum of 6 as a Faculty of Arts student, but we strongly recommend against it, particularly for first-year students, because the workload is extremely high.
Also, when do classes start to get full?
Pretty much from now, or when registration opened. A lot of the first-year courses, they have a lot of them have reserve caps for first-year students, which is why there's going to be lots of space right now until you guys essentially start registering. But again, it's why we always stress that you sign up as early as you can, because a lot of courses, particularly ones that are very popular, will fill up very fast.
So if a student feels that they already know the material for a specific university level class, is there a way to challenge an exam or prove a competency?
No, there isn't one that's really kind of formally established.
Yeah, and you can sort of challenge a class for credit, but you're paying the full course of the class. And what you do is you actually then end up just writing the final. So if you're going to pay money for the whole class, you might as well get some learning out of it and actually just take the course instead of going into the final not knowing the textbooks that was used or any specific materials that a professor would have covered in the class. Is there a chance that some online classes will increase enrollment if they are full?
This will be at the discretion of departments. A lot of the time, I wouldn't bet on it, because particularly now that we're pretty well into online, they've kind of established like this is as much as they can handle for a given instructor. That's not to say that like no course will ever increase enrollment, but it's not something to assume will happen.
Justin, can you explain sort of the maximum number of classes you can take in a winter, fall, spring, and summer session?
So the maximum in a fall winter for a Faculty of Arts student would be 6 courses, and a maximum in spring or summer is 3.
Yeah, and and as Justin has mentioned, for first year students, we don't recommend you sort of taking 6 classes, because we do say that for every 3 hours of lecture time that you have, you're probably spending anywhere from 5 to 6 hours per week working on the class. So if you're going to take 6 classes, so aside from your lecture time, you're going to be spending a minimum of 30 hours of homework. So, you know, that won't be very doable if you're in classes all day. And then how are you going to find another sort of 30 hours in a week to do your readings, your papers, and things like that? So do I need to show an advisor my schedule before I enroll?
You don't need to, particularly if you've looked at your schedule as a incoming first year student and you've got all the required courses, you've got the number of open options you want, you've got 2 science options if that's required for your program. So if you're, say, a SOCI major and you plan on taking SOCI 201, 2 science options, and then your desired number of open options, that's great. So you don't necessarily need to show us, because all we'll basically ask you that, are you taking SOCI 2 or planning on taking SOCI 201, 2 science options, et cetera, et cetera. And then if you say yes, we'll be like, great. One thing to be mindful of, particularly with open options, is again, the reserve caps. I keep hitting this home, but it is really important. If you, not to like that you can't even try to get into something like, for example, Psych 200 if you're not a psych major, but it will be difficult. The course is going to fill up really fast. You might want to have a backup course in mind so that you can grab that as an open option instead if it fills up.
Can we take, like, for example, Economics 201 along with Economics 203?
Those ones are co-requisites, so you can in that case.
I'm mindful of the time as we're getting closer to 4 o'clock, so I'm just kind of pick out some of the questions that we haven't answered before. What happens if I'm an undeclared major? What classes should I take, and how difficult would it be to get into a major after being in the undeclared program?
So if you're arts undeclared, there is actually a first year degree guide page for arts undeclared students. What it kind of explains is that if you're totally unsure of what program you want, you can sign up for electives. If you know you're kind of going to decide on some kind of Bachelor of Arts program, I'd recommend picking up 2 science options because you need them for almost every Bachelor of Arts program. And I'd also recommend, if you are very unsure, that you check in with Exploratory Advising and start thinking about this, because the earlier you determine exactly what you want to do, the better. As far as changing out of undeclared into a particular major in your second year, that's totally normal. If it's an uncompetitive arts program that you decide on, which means that it doesn't have a competitive GPA associated with it, it's just a change of program and it will change and you'll just be admitted. If it is a competitive program, depending on how competitive that particular program is, you might need to be conscious of GPA and things of that nature. The big one there is psychology. It's a very high demand program. The GPA is consistently, for admission, is consistently very high. So you'll want to be mindful of doing as best as you can in your courses so that you have the best possible chance of being a successful change of program to something like psychology.
Yeah, and then I'm just there's sort of a continuation question to this: is can you change out of your current faculty into a different faculty?
Yes, you can. Again, all the caveats I went over apply, like competitiveness, particularly because chances are, if you're thinking of changing schools or faculties and you're already within the Faculty of Arts, chances are the program you're looking at is going to be competitive, because like, engineering or business or science programs, pretty much all of them are competitive. What I'd suggest there is to check in with their specific advising office. So if you want to get into biological sciences, that you can check in with the Undergraduate Science Center so that they can give you any kind of advice as far as what you should be doing to prepare yourself for making a change of program toward that major.
So is it possible to enroll in my winter term classes right away along with my fall? And what do I need to do after adding courses to my shopping cart and validating them?
Yes, so we recommend that you sign up for both fall and winter courses when your enrollment appointment comes up. And then on the day of your enrollment appointment, that day and time, that's when you can finally register. You can check them out through the cart. And then the system will give you a confirmation or any error messages or anything that you weren't able to enroll or you were enrolled in certain courses. That will be the next step. If you're unsure of that, I recommend, again, looking at the resources on the registrar office's registration page. They have lots of like walkthrough guides and everything of how to register. And you can also reach out to new student registration assistants if you're struggling with that.
Yeah, and do you want to just remind everyone who's still here if this session is recorded and will be posted anywhere?
Yeah, so the session is being recorded and it will be posted on the Faculty of Arts website in the near future.
What happens if a student right now wants to meet with an arts student center advisor? How should they go about doing that?
So on the page that we're actually sitting on here, you can either email, you can also do phone drop-ins if it's between 1 and 4 in the afternoon. Obviously, we're closing now for today. And there'll be actually all-day phone drop-ins when first year registration completely starts. There's also information on booking an appointment, a specific 20-minute appointment with an arts advisor. It'll be on Zoom, of course. That one, depending on when you try to book it, you might have to book it actually quite well in advance. So if you have an urgent registration question, you should probably try to phone drop-in or email.
Yeah, we're actually not offering any booked appointments until May 26th. Right now, our advisors, aside from helping out with the first year registration, we are also going through graduation for our current students. So because of that, we're only offering phone drop-ins. So please just give us a call. Phone drop-in is available from 9 to 12 and 1 to 4 Mountain Time, Monday to Friday, with the exception of Thursday mornings where we are closed for advising. Can you explain the difference between Math 249 and 265?
So the difference between those, they work as the same prerequisites for follow-on courses. It's just they're slightly different in content because Math 249 is for students who have no calculus background from high school because they didn't do Math 31, whereas Math 265 is for students with that high school calculus background.
Can you go through again, like sort of the maximum and minimum number of classes and then explain per term and then explain the full-time, part-time numbers?
Okay. So again, the maximum for a Faculty of Arts student in fall or winter terms is 6 courses, and a maximum in spring or summer is 3 courses. Again, we don't recommend that you go all the way to the maximum. It's a lot of work. As far as the minimums go, you can take 1 course, you'll be considered full-time, or sorry, part-time in that term. The difference between full-time and part-time in fall and winter, full-time is a minimum of 3 courses in a term. If you fall below that, it starts to impact things like student loans, eligibility for awards, that kind of thing. If you want more detail about, for example, what a part-time registry, only taking 2 courses in a term would do to your student loans, I'd recommend reaching out to Enrollment Services.
Yeah, and part-time will also affect like residents and things like that, or if you're international students, your visa. So if you are unsure, please either check with us or connect with sort of the area that it impacts. Should I enroll for classes now, even though I am waiting for admission to my first choice?
Yes, so I'd recommend registering in your second choice program requirements. Try to get as many courses as you can for your first choice. Again, there'll be lots of time that you can use to adjust your registration later if you need to. What I always tell people is that it's easier to drop a course that you find out you don't need than it is to add one late.
Okay. If I'm doing IB and AP and even the GECE classes, should I register for the classes first, even though I may, get advanced credit for these classes later on in the summer?
Yes, that's what I'd recommend because a lot of the time the stuff that you get advanced credit for might be important prerequisites, which means that if something happens and you end up not getting that credit, you'll already be in those courses, so there won't be any headaches there. Whereas if you realize, okay, yes, the credit's now been posted, I don't need that course anymore, you can just drop that from your registration as long as it's before the drop deadline.
Yeah. And can these transfer advanced credits that I'm getting for IPAB and GCE, can those classes be used towards my major?
Yeah, so if they're relevant for your major, then they might actually count toward your major field. Otherwise, they'd be options.
Um, are there certain prerequisites that I need to have in order to sort of change my program in the second year? And what about like prerequisites from high school, or what minimum GPA I will need?
So that'll vary by program. High school prerequisites will stay the same as like they are now. So if you're trying to get into, say, BA Psych, you need to have Math 30-1 or 30-2 and the other high school requirement from high school. And then there's going to be a GPA requirement on top of that. There's not really within the Faculty of Arts, because there's a big caveat of Haskayne in particular that has specific university courses they want you to have before they'll let you transfer. But if you want to transfer into, I don't know, history, I keep using history because I have 2 history degrees. But if you want to transfer into that, there's no like university courses you need to be taking to be eligible. It's going to be in that case, it would be uncompetitive. There wouldn't even be a GPA. Where you can confirm this is on the UCalgary kind of admission requirements page. Keep in mind that it won't be updated for like fall 2022 at the moment because they're not sure. There could be changes in like GPAs and things like that from year to year, but you can use that to get a rough idea of what you would require for a particular major.
Yeah, and the sort of the emitting GPAs, or the range that we'll be emitting at, that will usually get updated in the new year. So if you're applying for September of 22, you're gonna be able to find the emission in January of 2022. Do I have to pay for course registration?
So you have to pay your deposit and make sure you've accepted your offer, but you don't need to pay for courses as you sign up for them because again, there'll be lots of time to change and everything like that. I'm not sure exactly when fees are due. I think you can find that in your student center, and if you're still unclear, you can check with Enrollment Services as well to find those deadlines.
What happens if my grades fall below what is being needed for my program? Will I lose my acceptance?
I believe in competitive programs, that's a possibility, correct?
So basically what will happen is in your student center somewhere, I'm not sure where, the admissions office didn't tell me, but they would have posted the minimum average you would need to retain with your final grades. So I would have a look for that. And if you can't find it, then I would connect with the admissions office. If you are in Canada and the US and you can call us, you can give them a call at 403-210-7625, and then they'll be able to answer your questions because they're in charge of all our admissions. So we don't exactly know how all the final processes will happen. Okay, let me see. After you have officially enrolled in your classes, can you still make changes after that day?
Yes. So again, you'll still be able to add, drop, swap courses all the way up until the last day to drop a course for a particular term, and the last day to add, which is usually the day after the last day to drop a course. That will be the hard cutoff for when you can no longer be editing and dropping and swapping courses. Because anything after that, again, going back to the drop and withdrawal distinction, after that date, they would turn into withdrawals, which means you don't get a refund. You can't register for any further courses. You get a W on your transcript. It becomes a different thing entirely after that point.
How do you get an enrollment date?
So it should be automatically assigned to you, and it is available in your student center.
Will the decision of whether we stay online or go to in-person classes have impact on class sizes?
It potentially could. So again, once things have been confirmed, there'll be a period where the departments have to make decisions as to what they're going to be doing with particular course offerings. If they're just going to switch it online and not change enrollment caps, or if they're going to be like, well, it's online now, we're going to make it bigger. That will be up to the individual discretion of departments.
Yeah, we will never reduce the class size. So we won't say, oh, there's 40 students enrolled, but we can only teach 30. So we're going to drop 30. That's never going to happen. There's a chance that a class may be completely canceled because maybe something came up with the professor and they're unable to teach it. But if you're enrolled in a class, you won't be removed from that class unless the entire course has been canceled. So if you get in a class, you're going to be in it. Don't worry, about whether it goes online or stay in person. The only thing you should be aware of is whether you are able to come, take the classes in person if we do decide that some courses will remain in person. Is there a time I can be in classes that I don't know yet? Should I enroll in as many courses as I can and then drop them later?
So you can, particularly in this first year, if you just want to pick up some options and you're not entirely sure. One thing I don't want to really encourage is extreme over enrolling. But if you're trying to decide between two courses, you can sign up for both and then make that decision to drop one or the other. One thing to be mindful of when you are deliberately over enrolling is that it's kind of a courtesy thing, in that you are saving a seat in a particular course that another student who might really need that course needs. So you don't want to grab a whole bunch of courses and then just stay on them, even though you know you're going to drop most of them. So it's kind of a fine line to balance between making those decisions, making sure that you can drop, a course once you've decided, versus over enrolling it's really not a problem in first year, but since it came up, I thought I'd kind of drive that home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also in relation to sort of that question is, if you know that there's a course that you're not going to make it to. So for example, if you're not going to make it to any 8 a.m. classes, because maybe it will take you an hour commute to get into Calgary or something, then I would recommend that you don't enroll in 8 a.m. classes. So make sure you enroll in classes that you can be there for, because there is a big chance that classes will be in person, or even if they're online, if you're like, I've never gotten up before 8 a.m. to, so I can be ready online to start a class, then you want to take that into consideration, right? Or if you're saying, well, I can't take any classes past 3 p.m. because I know I have to be at work at 4 every day, then don't. Just make sure you give yourself that time. We see many times a lot of first year students is that they sort of register for classes not really thinking about how that will impact everything else, and in the end, they either don't do well or they have to withdraw from a class. And classes are getting more and more expensive each year, so you don't want to be wasting that money if you know for a fact that there's no way you can complete the class fully. Where is the website that we can find course registration and shopping cart?
So it'll be in your student center. So your My U of C, when you have to do the login, and then you go to your page. It's the same Same portal where you would do all your stuff for like fees and all of that. You can find it there on the homepage.
Yeah, and it was in one of our earlier slides. It's on like the sort of the right-hand side of the home page.
Yeah, let me see if I can.
Yeah. Do I need to take all 5 classes in a term, even if I don't need it all?
So again, course load is something that's subjective. It's up to you. Just keep in mind, just assuming you're in a single major, you will ultimately need to complete 120 units, 40 courses with all of the requirements complete within that, regardless of how long it will take you. So if you're taking a very light course load, chances are it will probably take you longer to finish your degree. So if you are absolutely laser focused on, I am going to finish this degree in 4 years, you probably want to lean more toward taking 5 courses in each term.
Where can I find a list of all my required classes for first year?
That will be on the first year degree guide. So if you just Google UCalgary first year degree guide, it'll be one of the hits, the first hits that comes up. You can click on that and then find your major, and that will list out the courses you require in your first year.
Again, recording for the meeting. We don't have a link yet, as we still have to actually create the page on our website. But if you go into the Enrollment Services website, we should have one version of our registration workshop posted there. If you just go into Enrollment Services and Google webinars, you should be able to find one of our workshops there. When and where can I check how much tuition would be for the term?
So you can find that in your student center. And then if you're unclear of where you, like if you're confused at what you're looking at, you can reach out to Enrollment Services for them to clarify.
Yeah, and once you're enrolled in your classes, your tuitions will show up in your student center under the My Financials. On the screen now, if you the circle with a $sign, that's where your tuition will go. If you want to know how much classes are before tuition, then you can refer to the university calendar that Justin talked about earlier. Oh, someone asked, I think I'm interpreting this question correctly, but someone asked if they can enroll in classes that are like 201, or can they only enroll in classes that says 200?
So the starting number for a course, so for University of Calgary course codes, if it starts with a 2, that means it's a junior or a junior level course, so a first year course. Anything after that, it can be basically random. It depends on the department. So for example, the first course you would, or one of the first courses you would take in psychology is Psych 200, but then the first course you would take as an econ major is Econ 201. There is no Econ 200. So it doesn't like count sequentially.
Yeah, so you just need to register for a class that starts with a 2, and then you're good to go. Can I opt out of medical and dental coverage? And yeah, that's the other one in relations to Enrollment Services.
Yes, you can. So that's Enrollment Services.
Yeah, and I believe you can do that through your student center. So I would, it might be under My Financials too. Let me just see here. The date for paying tuition.
Yeah, so again, anything related to fees or tuition, you can find either in your student center, and then if you're unsure, you can check with Enrollment Services.
Yeah, and you would just pay for the current term. So in the fall, you would just pay for the fall term first, and then you would have sort of then another fee payment due date in January for your classes to start in the winter term. Should my open options correspond to my major?
Nope. So since they are open options, they really are freely chosen electives. And in fact, generally in the first year, we encourage students to just take open options from a variety of disciplines to see if there's something else that interests them. Because even right now, if you think there's nothing else that interests me, there's a lot of disciplines offered at the post-secondary, the university, that you've never really dealt with from high school. So you could find something that you really like that you never even thought of before, and then you might want to do a minor or something like that. So first year's a great opportunity to experiment with some of that stuff.
Yeah, so I'm just mindful of time. It's already 4:15, so I'm just going to finish up with the last two questions that we have, and then we're just going to have to end the webinar. So the one question is about the average needed for acceptance. So basically, again, check your student center. If you can't find it in there, you will have to connect with admissions, because we actually don't know what the final averages are. These are determined by the admissions office. And then it's classes in medicine, similar to a science option. How do I know like what are science options?
So in the first year degree guide, if you go into your major, and you can click on the hyperlink where it says science option, it'll redirect you to the options page. It gives you information there. If you scroll down a little bit, you can open up the science option dropdown, and it will list all 200 level science courses that would count as a science option.
Who do I contact if I don't have a valid enrollment appointment?
Enrollment Services.
Okay. And their phone number is 403-210-7625. The best is to give them a call. Their emails, they're quite behind, especially with high school students. You guys are all enrolling next week, so they're closed now, but I would give them a call Monday morning. They open at 9. If I have an undeclared first year program and I want to apply for psychology, the prerequisite courses to enter this program, like what would you look at? Would you look at high school, or would you look at university classes?
So as long as you have the required courses from high school, so for the BA psychology, for example, you need Math 30-1 or Math 30-2. As long as you have that, as far as averages go, it will depend on how many courses you take in your fall term. So if you have a minimum of 4 courses in your fall term, then they'll use that GPA over your high school grades. If you have fewer than 4 courses in your fall term, then they'll rely on your high school average again.
Yeah, and just to let all of you know that if you are applying for a change of program, within arts, we only look at the fall term grades and back. So we don't take into consideration the winter term grades of the year that you are applying for your change of program. So if you're going to apply for fall 2022 change of program, we will look at your fall 2021 grades and not include the winter 2022 grades in the calculation. So that's all the questions that we have in the chat.
Okay, great. Well, I hope this was helpful for all of you, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend.
Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.